Hello again, everyone. Ambassador Terry with another LinkedIn Live, and we're talking about opportunities. And I have two unique people that can talk about opportunities, and that's my guests, Niraha and Sneha Ganesh. Welcome, ladies. I am excited to have this conversation today.
So thrilled to be speaking with you once again, Ambassador Terry, and it's a great topic to speak on.
It
Looking forward
is,
to the conversation.
it is, and I'm looking forward to it too. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about opportunities. More to the fore out there in the business world, around the world. We're talking about how do women get opportunities? How do you become an entrepreneur? How do you pick up the opportunity to speak on TEDx? We have a speaker here, TEDx. Okay, and how does that happen? What is the mindset behind that, and how does that progress? Niraha, how about you? What do you think about opportunities?
Sure. So, most of us think that opportunities come to us, which is true, whether it's a job opportunity, whether it is to speak on a stage, or anything else. We think that we'll get tapped on the shoulder and say, hey, I think you're the right person for this. Why don't you consider it, right? Now, it may have been true some years ago, but I doubt whether that's the way opportunities actually come to many of us today. If we keep waiting for opportunities to come to us, I think we'll forever be waiting. Or by the time somebody taps us on our shoulder, we would have lost many years. So I think there are two ways to get opportunities. One is we keep looking out, and the minute we spot an opportunity, we grab it. We knock on the door and say, hey, I think I should be considered for this, and then see how you can present yourselves for that. And the second is that we create our own opportunities. So that's my submission to begin with.
I love it. Taking opportunities as they come along is not a bad thing. Late last century, I love saying that because we just started a new century, but late last century, people who took opportunities regularly were called opportunists. And that was a negative word. And that was a stupid way to think of things because an opportunist is always thinking about now and in the future. And presence is the point where manifestation becomes action. So let's talk about some action. Sneha, your thoughts?
Absolutely. And I think I'm going to lead on from what my mom said, which is opportunities necessarily don't have to come and find you. You are always allowed to go look for opportunities yourself. And since we're talking about timelines, I've often been told that, oh, you're so young, and yet you found yourself an opportunity. How did you find yourself an opportunity? And that's the first thing I want to start with, that opportunities are something that are not bound by timelines, not bound by people, not bound by where you are and what you do. Your opportunity will find you. If the opportunity does not find you, it's on you to find the opportunity or create the opportunity for yourself. Now, talking about actions which one can do, I think I'll start off with a little story here. So, I'm all of 23 today, and I've been doing public speaking for close to say 6 years now. And I started off when I was in university. I was not somebody who was extremely, say, confident on stage till up then, but I pushed myself to go out in university and start training students. It was a small something that I did purely out of passion. It started small with a small group of students inside my own classroom. After this, I decided that I was going to take it up a notch and I started talking about this on LinkedIn. This was a move that I made specifically seeking out for opportunities. I knew that if this was something I was doing in my own little circle, there was always scope for me to widen this to a larger circle. And how can I do this? By seeking out an audience, by seeking out potential clients, by seeking out others who are in need for similar training services. And that was the first thing I did, to go out there and say, yes, now here's something I do, and I'm going to tell the world about it so I can start attracting more opportunities for me to continue doing what I do. So that's the first action item through the little story that I want to tell all of you.
I love it. I love it. Early on, I graduated from high school. I had no opportunities to go directly into college, but I knew I could get my college when I was in the military if I chose to do that. Well, that was not a hard decision. I wanted to be a sailor since I was a young man watching movies on television, and so I've always had the mindset of my uncles. My uncle said, "You want to do something? Go do it. Don't ask permission. Don't him and haw. Don't say, well, I don't know if I should do it." Because if you want to be successful, and both of them were very successful, they built multinational companies from scratch. Okay. And that's not easy to do when you start out with no money. My mom and dad were farmers, right? So when they said things like that, I listened. And having that mindset, there was no fear per se. I would like to do this, or I would like to do that. I was at my first duty station, and I decided to go into a specialty in my job area. Both my bosses then said, "Oh, don't you dare do that. You're going to ruin your career. You're never going to make chief petty officer. There's no special thing that you can really set yourself out aside for promotions, et cetera, and stuff." And I said, well, okay. Secretly, I'm thinking, you guys got 12, 14 years in the Navy and you're not chiefs yet. So maybe your way of thinking isn't quite the way I would want to do things. So I re-enlisted and I went to that school anyway. Okay. And I was an E4. I went up to E5 first time, E6 first time, E7 chief petty officer first time. 7 years, just short of 8 years in the Navy, I'm a chief petty officer. So making up my mind and deciding what I'm going to do and taking the opportunity to do it can really speak things. Niraha, what do you think about that?
Absolutely. So it reminds me of my mantra. What's the worst that can happen, right? So, yes, somebody asked you, or you said, let me go try this. What's the worst that can happen? The worst is I will get rejected. I will not be good at that particular course, right? And if you're able to deal with that, of course, we can deal with it. If I get rejected, I will try somewhere once again. If I'm not able to cope with the course, I will find something else which I'm able to cope with. But at least I must try. So my mantra has always been, what's the worst that can happen? Let me go ahead and do it. And in terms of creating opportunity or grabbing opportunities, I think one also says she was at the right place at the right time, right? Now, how do you find the right place and the right time? I think it is always the right time. Now, you can't be everywhere, but definitely ensure that you start moving around. And that's why I am a big fan of networking. And I tell people it is important to network. It's important to find networks because that's where you find people and you find opportunities. And then you can say, hey, I'm the right person. So a story from my side also. I have moved after 25 years of technology career into what I do today, which is largely working in the space of gender diversity, either delivering programs which can impact women or conducting my own leadership training programs to help women kind of grow in their careers. Now that's a huge, jump from a very cocooned, safe corporate job to something which no one has heard of. And how do you take a risk like that? Is it really going to pay you back? But how did it happen? There was a conference that was for women on a career break. I'm talking about 2016 when I was still in my corporate job. I was not on a career break. I was neither considering to take a career break. But I said, let me go attend this conference and see what it has to offer. I had a fight at home because my husband was like, why do you want to spend a Saturday at a conference which is not for you? But I said, no, I want to. And I went to attend that conference. Two things happened. One, I heard from the women about how difficult it was for them to even get to an interview, let alone once you are at the interview, the kinds of questions that they are asked, as if all their previous experiences have been wiped out. And it strongly made me feel that I want to do something about this. The second was the speakers who had come to this conference were very different to otherwise the speakers I would listen to, because I was part of technology. I would go to technology conferences. You had the same set of speakers, the same kind of topics which were discussed. Now, here you had a very different set of speakers, and it kind of made my mind think, why is it that I don't have such a perspective? And I realized that's because I'm in a well. I'm only moving around with similar kind of folks with similar kinds of thinking. So I'm not thinking differently. So I said, I want to do something about this. And just then there was this portal platform called as Jobs for Her. It was a platform for women on a career break. And they were looking out for ambassadors. Now, ambassadors are people who will spread the word around. So they wanted people who would talk about their platform and say, hey, women who are on a career break can be on our platform. We help them get opportunities. We train them. We mentor them. I said, yes, I can be an ambassador. I just grabbed that opportunity. And that's how my journey into all of this that I do today started. And one led to the other. I actually went on to head their not for profit foundation. And today I'm doing the kinds of things that I'm doing. So I guess I just grabbed it.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Sneha, what do you think about that?
So, continuing along the same line of thought, I will also use a story to talk about what I think about that. So, like Mom did mention that you are going out there to grab opportunities for yourself, and if you don't get the opportunity to you start creating it for yourself. So, when I was in the first year of my university, I had an opportunity when I heard that there was an organization that was doing this program. It was called a Learning Labs program. It was something for fresh graduates or for people who were looking to move into the industry of that organization. Now, I, as an individual, am extremely passionate about anything mathematics, anything numbers, anything logic. But inherently, I'm also someone who wants to do something that's creative. And to me, this organization and their program seemed like the perfect match. It was logic, it was creativity, it was business, it was everything that I wanted to do. So I knew that I wanted to get into that program. So I applied to be a part of the program. It was a slightly lengthy application process. I filled it out, I wrote all my answers, and I submitted it. We waited for a few weeks, and then we got to know that the results have been rolled out. And I was waiting, I was really hoping, praying with everything possible that I will get in the program. But I didn't really get an email. And I knew a few others who had applied, and I checked in with them. Some of them had gotten an acceptance email. So I was a little upset. I said, okay, maybe I did not have it in me yet to get into the program. I probably either am lacking a few skills, or I'm probably still just not the right age, or there is something because of which they have chosen not to get me in. Now, I could have just sat and said, okay, I'm upset, oops, I could not get it. But what I decided to do was figure out what was it that made me not get it. Because there must have been a reason, and now I'm going to work on that reason so that the next year when the program starts, I can apply and get it then. Because I was driven and I wanted to get in that program. So I had an opportunity then to speak with a bunch of folks who were a part of the panel that selected the candidates for this program. And it was just a conversation. We got into a Zoom meeting. and we're just introducing ourselves, and we were just talking about what the program is about. And I decided to use that as a chance that had come my way to introduce myself in a manner that is effective enough for them to know what skills I bring to the table. And using that introduction, I then steered the conversation to talk about what my passion is and why I applied for the program, and now why I was so inclined to be a part of the program. And naturally, the people on that board, when they heard all of this, said, wow, she is one driven candidate who we genuinely want to have on our program. So why don't we have her? And by the end of that conversation, I had an email in my inbox with an acceptance letter to the program. It was something that an hour ago I did not have. But through one simple opportunity, which I led to convert into an opportunity for me to get into that program.
Excellent. Excellent. You know, sometimes, well, I'm often quoted as saying, hire brains, don't worry about the bodies. And I've had some very, very successful people work for me over the years, and some brilliant people working for me in various countries right now. And that diversity, equity, and inclusion, and all that stuff. Well, somebody had to invent some words to open up some opportunities for not white males. Okay, and still yet there are international corporations that don't have the status and the success they should have because the chief executives of that company are all white Ivy League males rather than brilliant people from various backgrounds who can bring the customer equation to the fore. And they all sit around and say, you know, what do we got to do? Do we have to start a whole new product line? We got to do something. You know, shareholders are getting antsy. And somebody will come up with yet another idea that was pretty good in the 1980s. It's not valid anymore in the 2020s. Okay. And so, like you, Sneha, you just, you know, I want to do this. Let's do it. Okay. And so that is really more important now is the person who can create a company or a division or a workspace that's achievement centric. Because, well, ladies, I'll ask you, and you, ladies and gentlemen that are listening in, and thank you for doing so. I'll ask you, when was the last time you really achieved something? How did you feel? Pretty good, right? Now think about repeating that on a regular basis when you go to work, because everybody at work is achieving too, because you as a unit are achieving a vision for the future for your division, your work center, your company, whatever. Here's what happens on the real set. Monday morning blues don't happen. Monday, I get to come back to work. I get to work with the greatest fun people. I just love it because people who are achieving don't burn out. They keep going. And the days that you have a bad day, so what? As soon as I get to work, I know that the team's going to pick me up and I'm going to be rocking. Okay. We're human. We're emotional units. So we're going to have some bad days, but they don't last as long when there's positive energy running and flowing through the group that you're working in, your company. You're really working towards a vision. And I wrote a book, Consortium Business Model for the 21st Century, where I talk about that, setting a vision that everybody wants to achieve and leaving the timelines and goals to the tax people and the accounting department, and watch the stakeholders and the shareholders sit back in awe because of what you're doing, right? Yaha, what's your thoughts along that line?
Fantastic. I mean, it's such an inspiration that we are getting to speak with you and discuss this important topic with you. And one of the things I already, kind of spoke about networking, but the other aspect is about showing up and showing who you are, which kind of today is called as your brand, the visibility that you have. Now, you may be extremely good, but who knows that you are extremely good, right? And hence it is so very important for people to know you, and hence your brand to be presented there. So I want to kind of tell people who are sitting away and thinking, okay, how did Neeraja and Sneha end up at Ambassador Terry's show? And the backstory there is that both Ambassador Terry and I are part of Thinkers 360, this fantastic platform. And I saw that Thinkers 360 had listed the top 100 podcasters who are part of this particular platform. And Ambassador Terry's "What Are You Doing" was one such talk. So, what did I do? I said, let me connect with these podcasters because, one, when I connect with them on LinkedIn, that's definitely a platform beyond Thinkers 360. The minute they are doing something, either the new episode or something more interesting, it will show up on my LinkedIn feed. So that's one reason to stay connected with a lot of people. So I connected with Ambassador Terry. Now, why do you think Ambassador Terry will accept my invite? I'm speaking for him, maybe he can tell me later, but he may have gone through my LinkedIn profile and said, okay, she seems to be doing something interesting because my LinkedIn profile also has my thought leadership on it. Where do I speak? What kind of programs I run? What do I think about certain initiatives? There is continuous content which I'm posting. So Ambassador Terry accepted my invite. And then over a period of time, he must have said, this woman seems to be doing something good. Let me bring her on what are you doing? Now, there are two ways people will react to this invitation. One is, of course, I will come on board, which is what I did without really thinking about, oh, it's a 5-minute program. What is it going to offer me? And I don't even know if timelines are going to match. The other kind of people would think so much and say, 5 minutes with Ambassador Terry is not really going to do much. And all, I'm going to say is, what am I doing? Who's going to listen to it? And you actually lose out an opportunity. So the point here is ensure that your brand is very visible. But second, grab every opportunity. If somebody is telling you, can you do this? It may sound small. It may not even be in your league, but just pick it up because you don't know where it will lead to. That particular "What Are You Doing" episode apparently topped the charts. I was told by Ambassador Terry, and then he invited me to the first Fridays with Ambassador Terry, which also I think did quite well. And today we are here with my daughter Sneha on this conversation about opportunities. So I actually have another mantra: treat every interaction as an opportunity. So if you're having a conversation with someone by the roadside, you never know what opportunity that can lead to. So how would you present yourselves if you were at an interview? Have a good conversation, whether it's on WhatsApp, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's someone on the road. You don't know what opportunities it will lead to.
Good one. Nice plug. Nice plug for what are you doing? But you're right. What did I look for when we first connected? An individual who has a unique perspective, who's doing something that would be of interest to the people who follow me. And that became apparent to me almost immediately. That's why I reached out to you and say, okay, let's do this. And the results of it is yeah, you were one of my top 10% of the 400 plus I've done. And you brought another market niche with you. Okay. And that's what I'm looking for as well. Okay. And I think it's important, ladies and gentlemen, to understand that being opportunistic and taking opportunities will build your character, It'll spread your reputation in multiple areas. My company works in many different industries. Okay, doesn't mean that we're scatterbrained and not focused. It's because we think about a particular client demographic. We don't care where they work. We don't care where they live. We want to get a message to that person. In fact, when I'm talking right now, I have a person's face right on the lens of the camera of the person that is my ideal client and mentee, because I do both. And that's powerful, ladies and gentlemen, because there's a lot of you out there that's watching this right now. It's like, okay, yeah, this is kind of interesting. Maybe, maybe not. Well, it's okay because the message is not for you. Okay. But it could be somebody you know. It could be somebody you work for. Okay. So hang in there for those of you who are listening today. There may be a message for somebody that's near and dear to you that can benefit from our discussion. Sneha, what do you think about this for some final comments?
Absolutely. I think wholeheartedly agree with almost everything that we've discussed today. And like you just said, you often don't necessarily know where what's coming from. So keep an open mind because something as simple as what we're talking about just before this, networking. If you show up at an event, if you show up at a conference, you're probably there with one, an intention to learn. You're there because there's either a speaker you're following, or you're there because the conference agenda sounded interesting, or there was a particular track whose theme you wanted to learn from, or just because you work in that domain and you want to go and see what people in the domain are doing today. But always remember that if you're showing up somewhere, someone there is watching you. And that someone there has an opportunity to offer you. And to tell you about this, I'm going to give you another little story. And the reason I'm telling you all of these stories is because, like I said in the very beginning, I'm all of 23. And it does not take having to become a Nirja Ganesh or an ambassador Teddy for you to get yourself an opportunity. You can start today right where you're sitting. So I was at one such conference some months ago last year. It was a conference by this multinational company, and I was attending the conference purely with the agenda of learning. To me, this was an opportunity where I got to understand what's happening in the industry because I work in the space of technology as a data analyst. And I wanted to go and see what were new advancements in the industry. But while I was at the conference during the tea break, I went around saying hi to some of the who's hosts from the company, just so I can one, make myself visible, but two, also simply say I love the work that you're doing and I'd like to remain connected, and then drop them a note on LinkedIn. Why are we doing this? One, so I can follow and keep track of whatever interesting stuff is happening in their company, in the work that they're doing, but also they get to see what I'm doing and I get to continue building that visibility for myself. When I did this for about 2-3 months, those folks, they continued following what I'm doing. Now, first part was networking and building visibility, which I had done. Now, the second is for me to use that network and showcase my brand to them. So on my LinkedIn page, I've been very actively posting about whatever I do from a training standpoint. So I actively train on communication and soft skills, and it's something I'm very passionate about. And this was something that I was continuously posting about. And I very recently also posted about a session that I did on personal branding and the need for personal branding for all of us. It took that. It took this constant nudge on the platform for those senior folks from the company to recognize and look at the fact that, oh, this child that I spoke to at the conference, she seems to be doing a lot of interesting things. So why do we not reach out to her to actually come over to our company and train some of our senior folks on skills that she seems to be able to add such value on? It was not an actual agenda I went to that conference with. I went there to learn, I went there to network. But at the end of it, I had used that entire trajectory to create an opportunity where I was walking into a boardroom in that organization to be able to train senior leaders from the organization on a skill that very honestly I had just been utilizing because I was passionate about at the time. So you never know what brings what your way. So remember that in today's world, you're always being watched. As scary as it sounds, you're always being watched. So make sure you're always putting your best foot forward because any one of them can lead to an opportunity. And if they don't lead, it's an opportunity for you to create an opportunity for yourself. So always put your best self out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, when lockdown came down a few years ago, I joined a World Thought Leader group. And the first couple of times I got on there, we have all these people on the screen, and some of them are wearing T-shirts and sitting out by their pool and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but this is a business meeting, okay? And I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you an example. I came here to work. All right. I'm at work right now. And if I was to stand up right down to my shoes, I'm ready to step out on stage because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm on stage right now. And that's the same thing as what you're saying, Sneha. It doesn't mean that you can't relax, but putting your best foot forward creates an opportunity for further opportunities. Niraha, some final thoughts?
So I think we've spoken a lot. We've spoken about networking. We've spoken about personal branding. We've spoken about grabbing opportunities. We've spoken about creating our own opportunities. The last piece of advice, if I may, people, can you take some action? It's all very nice to hear, right? And it's very nice to discuss. But unless, as Ambassador Terry said, you take some action, whatever it be, you may want to start attending conferences. You may start writing on LinkedIn. You may want to start connecting with Ambassador Terry, Neeraja Ganesh, Sneha Ganesh, or somebody else. But take some action. Otherwise, you can't move ahead. So I really, kind of urge everyone to go back, take small steps, baby steps, and you'll be surprised how far you can go.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, some final thoughts from me too. Opportunity is taking action that you would not otherwise take to further yourself in some regard. Okay? Taking action can be a simple act of kindness that's observed, like Sneha was talking about her networking event. A simple act of kindness towards some other person may attract an opportunity for you to talk to somebody, and through that conversation end up with a job opportunity or a lot of different things. Okay, new golf partner, that happened to me once. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. We're going to watch for comments here in the coming hours, and ladies, thank you very much for joining me. This was every bit what I thought it would be.
Thank you so much for having us, and I'm sure this will definitely resonate and be a great learning for many people.
You bet.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us. And I'm really glad for this opportunity. And I look forward to seeing a lot of people use this to create a lot more opportunities for themselves.
You bet. You bet. Bye for now, ladies and gentlemen.